That next question comes from Darren Chandler.
When I think of global threats throughout the world, some things that come to mind are Islamic fundamentalism in places like Pakistan and the Middle East, Christian fundamentalism in places like the United States, a meteorite decimating a city, possibly even creating global tsunamis, and climate change. What do you think has the greatest probability to end the greatest story that we know of so far?
Lawrence, keep it brief.
Okay, great. Well, as you know, yeah, I had the Bolton Atomic Scientists. Every year we move the doomsday clock or think about it, and we run a doomsday symposium. It's not a lot of fun. I still think right now the most urgent pressing concern is nuclear weapons. I think so if I want to list it, for existential threats, nuclear weapons are still there, and it's something we can do something about. It's something we're not doing anything about. 70 years ago, Einstein said everything has changed save the way we think. We're still thinking the same way. No one is talking about disarmament. The nuclear countries are actually violating the Non-Proliferation Treaty, in my opinion, because not only do we not, I mean, part of it is not having people like North Korea and Iran get nuclear weapons, but part of the treaty is that the countries that have nuclear weapons are supposed to work to disarm. Instead, both the United States and Russia are spending, the United States has a $1 trillion program to modernize nuclear weapons. It's not sending the right message. So I think by far that's the biggest threat. Just to touch two other things you said.
Not two other things, no.
Okay, one other. Okay, nothing. Okay.
I'll come back to you. Let me bring Mona in.
Well, you mentioned the threat of Islamic fundamentalism, which I think is weighing on a lot of people's minds, and I just wanted to kind of provide some statistics on that. It was interesting. There was an incident in New York just before I left to come here, in which a man ran over some pedestrians in Times Square, and the media very quickly lost interest, basically because his name wasn't Mohammed, effectively. And actually, the threat of Islamic fundamentalism, if you want to view it in terms of number of dead bodies, which is awful as it sounds, is the way to kind of make sense of some threats, actually really isn't that present. So if you take the years from 1975, I know you want to come in, from 1975 to 2015, the threat of terrorism in the US is the chance of being killed by a foreign-born terrorist is 1 in 3.6 million, and the chance of being killed by a foreign-born terrorist who was also a refugee is 1 in 3.6 billion. But all of our perception of threat has been distorted because of the way that risk is presented to us by politicians.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I wrote a piece in the New Yorker saying that, and I got it castigated. It's exactly that. We have this view that it's a huge threat for most Americans, even in almost every country, the likelihood of being killed by a terrorist. The real people who are in danger from Muslim terrorists are in the Muslim countries.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
You're more likely to be killed by a refrigerator in the United States falling on you.
Now, I'll bring in our other panelists. I mean, I suppose if you're a young black American, you're more likely to be killed by a policeman.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't young.